Some weeks are just full of so many choices, so much data and new information that one almost needs to write them all down on a slip of paper and toss them into a hat to pull out a choice. These are the random winners for the 17th Fun Fact of the year. First, in the category of too much data, this is an image of a mosaic of galaxies from the Mega Survey. Andy Thomaswick from Universe Today on April 23rd wrote, "Data from the James Webb Space Telescope is coming in hot and heavy at this point, with various data streams from multiple instruments being reported in various papers. An exciting one will be released shortly in the Astrophysical Journal from researchers at the University of Kansas, where researchers collected mid-infrared images of a part of the sky that holds galaxies from the time of the cosmic noon, about 10 billion years ago." In case you are wondering what the heck is cosmic noon, is that when space cowboys arrange to do a duel? Cosmic noon corresponds to redshifts of z equals 2 minus 3, when the universe was roughly between 2 to 3 billion years old, coincidentally. Over this relatively short period, galaxies formed about half of their current stellar mass. This makes cosmic noon an ideal time to examine mechanisms of star formation. This is a still from a nearly hour-long YouTube video showing just a fraction of the amazing discoveries from the James Webb Space Telescope in year 2. Behold the Lobster Nebula, NGC 6357, hosts an intricate mosaic of dark dust, gas, and protostars still embedded in their birth disks of gas. The paper coming out soon on Cosmic Noon describes the results of the MIRI EGS Galaxy and AGN Mega Survey and invites citizen scientists to help catalog and classify some of their findings. According to Kansas University researchers, galaxies were churning out new stars so intensely during Cosmic Noon, all the galaxies today owe half their stellar mass to stars forged during this epoch. This is an image from the Mega Survey. Observed megagalaxies have a lot of variation in color and morphology, giving insight into the galaxy's ages, dust content, and star formation. This cosmic noon had me intrigued, so I headed to Zooniverse to investigate possibly becoming a citizen scientist. There are 75 ongoing projects. Anyone can join, and if you are under 16, you will need parental consent. There are 18 astronomy or physics projects, including the new Cosmic Collisions, which is data about cosmic noon. I could only fit 15 of them onto my screen, and the 3 missing ones are just as exciting as these ones. The next draw of the hat, or more accurately, a closed eyes cursor wander over all my tabs and a click, fell into the category of space junk. Launched way back in 1972, Kosmos 482 is about to meet a fiery end. It's one straight out of the history books. After over 50 years in space, the late Soviet Union's Kosmos 482 mission is set to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere sometime in May. Stranded in Earth orbit, there are just a few days remaining to see this enigmatic relic of a bygone era. This image shows the failed lander possibly still attached to part of the orbiter or the upper stage, perhaps. It's a recent image of Kosmos 482 in orbit. Launched on a Molniya 8K-78M rocket from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan on March 31, 1972, the mission was likely meant to head to Venus. A similar launch involving the successful Venera 8 mission occurred on March 27, 1972, just 4 days earlier. They say likely, as the Soviet space program of the 60s and 70s was largely silent concerning missions and launches until they were successful. This was the era of the Cold War, when relations between the East and the West were at a nadir. The Soviet Union never acknowledged the launch failure, and the simple Kosmos 482 designation remained. Unfortunately, relations between the East and West are once again uncomfortable, but the world is watching this satellite, and its re-entry will be visible. This is an image of Venera 8, which is thought to be identical to Kosmos 482. As this is a lander that was designed to survive passage through the Venus atmosphere, it is possible that it will survive re-entry through the Earth atmosphere intact, says satellite observer and analyst Marco Langbroek. There are many uncertain factors in this, though, including that this will be a long, shallow re-entry trajectory and the age of the object. This picture is a projected orbital pass of Kosmos 482 on the morning of May 6th. Heavens Above now has predictions for the mission on their main page. Re-entry is still projected for a pretty wide swath from 52 degrees north to 52 degrees south latitude, so stay tuned for updates on when and where the satellite will appear. It's getting crowded up there. Satellites in low Earth orbit go all the way back to the U.S. Vanguard 1, launched in 1958. And the burden of space junk is getting exponentially more critical in 2025. SpaceX continues to launch large Starlink batches at an incredible pace, and these are now joined by China's 1,000 Sails, OneWeb, and just this week, Amazon's Kuiper project, which completed a first launch on April 28th as the company's bid for its very own mega satellite constellation. Thinking about this satellite and all the others, plus random space junk, I asked AI what would happen if suddenly everything began to fall to Earth. It turns out someone has already made a YouTube video about that very possibility. Here is a quick 4-shot pictorial essay. I don't think they noticed that AI stuck in a random astronaut. Maybe his name is Debris. Basically, an apocalypse would take anywhere from 10 to 100 years to finally end. The video is much shorter, just over 6 minutes, and well worth watching. It's definitely not a bedtime story, but be sure to try to catch Kosmos 482 re-entry. It's not every day, thankfully, that a 50-year-old satellite comes back home.